This video does not dispense medical advice or prescribe the use of any technique or form of treatment or physical or medical problems without the advice of a physician, either directly or indirectly. The intent is only to offer information in a general nature to help you in your quest of emotional and spiritual well-being. Suppose you do use this information in this video for yourself, which is your constitutional right. In that case, I assume no responsibility for your actions. I do encourage you, though, to actually not take this information as pure facts, but to watch and observe and to see the potential outcomes of the subject mentioned in this video. The software used in this video is called Time Nomad, which is only available in the Apple Store. Suppose you do not have access to it due to some type of limitation, or you do not have any access to the Apple Store due to having an Android or anything else of that nature. I do recommend you to actually use an app called AstroVizor, which is available at the Apple and Google Play Store. The links are both at the description. I hope you enjoy this video. Hello everyone, I'm Astreus, and today we're going to be looking at the astrology of Ironmouse, more in specific, her Geocentric Zodiac 12. First, what we should be talking about what I do in more particular, which is known as Magi Astrology, which is a type of scientific-based astrology. And as you could probably guess, it was developed by the Magi Society and is very much a correlation study between the celestial bodies and their patterns to what goes on humanity. And of course, they use tools from statistics, data science, computer science, and many others. So there's a couple of little differences between Magi astrology and traditional astrology. First, Magi astrology has small orbs. There is no housing systems used. Zodiac signs interpretations are not used. The time of birth is not really needed. Interpretations are strictly based upon statistical evidence. And of course, teaching laws techniques must be reliable, accurate, and consistent, again according to statistics. While traditional astrology has rather large orbs, housing systems are included, zodiac signs are almost consistently always present, time of birth is always usually needed for an accurate chart, and methods and techniques are usually passed down either due to tradition, belief, or some type of philosophical ideology. Now, usually there is 3 basic rules, at least with Magi astrology, when it comes to reading any kind of chart. 1, the more celestial bodies included in a geometric pattern, the more powerful an influence that pattern has. If it's a symmetrical pattern, it is much more stronger than if it was asymmetrical, mainly because it is rather rare. Now, if a pattern is rather closer to its peak, or rather exact, then it has more power and influence. Now, if it is applying, which is these are applying or they're moving towards being exact, they are much more stronger than ones that have began to separate or move away from being exact. Now, if a pattern or anything has any of these powerful celestial bodies and or midpoints involved in them, they'll have even much more important. Such planets to watch out essentially will be from what you see in this little tiny list of Jupiter to Midas, and of course midpoints that may be any types of mention of them, whether if it includes one of the bodies mentioned or a combination of both. Now keep in mind, if there is no patterns whatsoever, use the rules to the aspects themselves, if there is any aspects at all. Now, what is a midpoint? Although we will not be going in great detail in this video, I thought it would be best for additional minor information, just in case you're wondering what a midpoint was when mentioning in the rules earlier. So, in simple terms, a midpoint refers to an equal distance between 2 celestial bodies. Now, for example, let's say 2 celestial bodies are 120 degrees apart. Well, the midpoint will be 60 degrees apart between them. This will be considered the close midpoint because it is a short distance between the two. But there's also an additional midpoint, which is considered the far end. this will be exactly 120 degrees apart from the other two celestial bodies. Now, as this rule or little explanation mentioned over here states that if they are forming a vital alignment or aspect, which is another term for an angle, it will be considered rather more significant. So, for example, let's say the far end is involved in a symmetrical pattern, then the far end is more vital for the alignment. And of course, vice versa. Now, midpoint equivalence, this law will basically state that every single midpoint will act as a planet, and of course will influence other planets just like an ordinary planet. And of course, other midpoints will interact with other midpoints exactly like planets would do. So in simple terms, treat midpoints exactly like planets. Now here, we can actually start to get into it. Right here we have Mouse's geocentric longitude and latitude chart. Right here we have the longitude alignments. We also right here have the latitude alignments. Now this I'll admit it was my little forgetting to do this, but I would have taken out this alignment, well, this coordinate right here, mainly because the moon would move 13 degrees. And as a result, this coordinate, which is Aquarius, 26 degrees, 36 minutes, and 50 seconds, can actually be very inaccurate to the actual position of where the moon was when Mouse was born. So as a result, we should, in fact, ignore this little part. But here, at the 2 degrees, 48 minutes, and 23 seconds north, this will be the latitude. This part we would still keep in mind. Reason being because in the declinations and latitudes, the moon moves rather slowly. So we can get a more accurate to what is more of the true alignment compared to the longitudes. Now here is Mouse's birth chart. Now I do understand it may look rather complex to you, however, we will be breaking it down based upon the 3 basic rules mentioned earlier and how to read the chart, and you'll see how everything will basically flow and connect together. Now the first pattern is a combination of multiple symmetrical patterns working as one, so I decided to keep them as such. The patterns that aren't together is the T-square, which is all in red, the mighty fortress, which is this rectangle right here, or this like fortress, and the eye pattern, which is right here. Now, with all these celestial bodies or patterns working together, let's first look for what is common among all these planets. Usually because a planet shares a common theme or category in a sense, we are more likely to see an outcome that's basically a combination or is very similar to what the most common theme is. So let's look for what we can find in common. So we have Uranus, Pallas, Mercury, all in this pattern. So these planets in common, they will have something to do with technology. We see Venus, Pluto, and technically speaking, Vesta could count in this combination as well. All these celestial bodies have something to do with finances and also with business. Now Saturn, technically speaking, can also contribute to the business aspect, but more of the structure or foundations. Now Mars and Lilith, including Saturn, they're all rather malefic, which in other words they may cause issues or problems, or in this case can easily be a part of something rather positive, depending if they're overpowered by positive planets, which in this case most of the planets involved or celestial bodies involved are positive. Now, Icarus is somewhat by itself, but it does somewhat help or add in with some of the bad influences that these planets could basically assist with, but again, they also cannot do so, at least fully. So now let's get into the interpretation. So we could see what this will indicate is Mouse, her money will mostly come from the computer of creating digital products and or services, or make money by mimicking something online, symbolized by Uranus. Through the use of computers, which Mercury symbolizes the mind and anything that can mimic the mind, such as computers, digital products and services will be symbolized by Pallas. The cash flow is Venus. Uranus represents high technology, so essentially VTubing also represents online or anything that is subject of change, such as the internet as well. Vesta, this will basically is a unification of things working together, somewhat similar to Venus, where they both work together or cause harmony of sorts. Icarus is something that's rather bound to, or something that is just bound to happen either for the better or for the worse. Pluto is basically a business or confidence, so we can see that Mouse has rather a good sense of confidence when it comes to making online through basically causing a new change of swiftness as being a VTuber online. And of course, this will lay down new foundations based upon old skills and experiences that she may have developed from the past, and contributing further into action in the future. Now, since Lilith is a part of this, this can also symbolize the fact that Mouse does have rather demon-like qualities in her avatar, which again adds into the uniqueness of her laying down some type of foundations and business confidence, which again results in making money online through this digital persona. Of course, this also can contribute to basically, she uses basically demon-like behavior in actions with her content, which of course adds in more turbulence that results in making more money, or at least her audience would enjoy it in a comedic-like stance. Right here we have a telescope pattern, and this is made of Uranus, Vesta, Icarus, Mercury, Venus, Pallas, Chiron, North and, well, South and Saturn. This will indicate, as we mentioned before, the money and foundations through the use of technology and a career, or what she chooses to make money of, or where she chooses to make a living. In this case, it will be of high technology, with friends that is bound to happen, of course through the use of technology, which contributes money and comedy, and of course a digital-like persona that is a new foundation or structure that she can make, or at least have experience in. Also, just for some side notes, Venus and Chiron interacts with each other. This indicates a Cinderella alignment. This also indicates that Mouse may be a person who is rather fond of being in love, or is in love with being in love. This also indicates that she'd be very much a real-life Cinderella individual, and has the ability to make money online, as I mentioned before, but also has the ability, or probability to be exact, of being an eternal bachelor. An individual to think who has this alignment will be of, if I recall, her name is Elizabeth Taylor, if I remember correctly, has this alignment. Yeah, she does. And this can indicate that Mouse, she may have multiple large periods of where she would be by herself, or she will fall in love but may not fully love the individual if the fantasy like dream doesn't fully go towards plan. So we see large periods where she's basically single, but when she finds someone who she's deeply in love with, it may be short term, but of course that's all up to Mouse herself. If she can truly withstand what truly makes love, then obviously she'll be married and happy for life. Now we have this fortress pattern made from Uranus, Vesta, Icarus, Mercury, Venus, Pallas, Chiron, Lilith, Mars, and the North Node. As mentioned consistently throughout this video so far, this can indicate that Mouse, as a person, she'll definitely make money online as a VTuber, but of course it will contribute very much to like the future experiences and her making a living rather sustainable. And of course her actions to building this future through the use of high-end technology will definitely be stabilizing her future career and of course setting her for life. Of course that's if she actually plays her cards right. Now we are just down to the mirror alignments. Ceres interacting with the sun in the conjunction. This will indicate that Mouse is basically a person who is of business, material wealth. She most likely values business first, then personal relationships after, or she has a business-like sense where it is strictly business first, then personal relationships after. So there's like if she needs to fire a friend or someone who is rather close to her, if it's for the business, she will do that. But of course, it's not of any harm doing or not meant to be harmful. Now, the sun is also interacting with Juno. This indicates that alluring-wise, Mouse is very an alluring individual. She'll very much be a person who may appear as delusional or in denial at times, may be somewhat narcissistic or has some traits that are similar to narcissism at the worst outcome. This also can indicate that she may be a person who is rather beautiful or quote-unquote sexy to the majority. This also can indicate that she is a person who is very much a dreamer and will do whatever it takes to make her dreams a reality, especially since Ceres is a part of this alignment, and of course Eris as well. This will deeply amplify the possibilities of making her dreams a reality. So since she is a dreamer, but she'll put the efforts towards making it a reality. As a result, what may appear as delusions is actually nothing more than it will start off as a thought or wishful thinking, but eventually it become a reality for her case. Now Jupiter conjunct with Neptune, this is a super alignment in a way. This will also indicate that she is very talented, super success and talented. Just also indicates that she may be very blessed longevity wise, so she may live a long time. She also may basically experience true inner peace or spiritual peace. Also, her artistic skills will transcend as years and time goes on. Now, Jupiter and Vesta both parallel with her sun, so we have a Magi pyramid. This will indicate that Mouse is a person of peace. She may have rather Judeo-Christian-like values. She is very much spiritual. She will not necessarily be a person who will rock the boat, essentially, but if it means that she'll cause peace in the long term for others, she'll very much do so. This is also a person who is of rather have great wisdom. In this case, what it will mean that she's not the type of person who would understand something immediately, but she will basically take her time to fully understand and comprehend it to the extent where if you were to ask her about a particular subject, she'll very much transcend compared to the average individual who also learned the exact same thing. Now, the sun parallel with Vesta, this will indicate that she is rather a sweet, caring individual who would very much basically be rather friendly. She's also one who more likely to be part of charity works of sorts or be happy in some type of non-profit like organization. Her moon parallels with Pluto. This indicates that emotionally speaking, she is rather blunt with her emotions. So if she needs to express it, she'll most likely express the emotions in a very blunt-like fashion. Mercury parallels with Jupiter, and also, of course, parallels with Uranus and Neptune. This will indicate that she is a person whose thinking process and communication skills is very much upon riches, basically long-term riches and long-term fame and creativity and spirituality, and basically scientific notions of sorts, or in this case, technological advances. Of course, her mindset as well. This will indicate that she is rather a prophetic speaker, or rather a strategic speaker. She may be good for negotiations, or rather someone who can actually at least talk about peace in a rather interesting way. Mercury parallel with the Uranus, that again would indicate that she actually has a mindset for high technology or understanding for high technology, or at least has a good understanding of how to push computers to the max to get new technology or to build it. Mercury, as I mentioned before, parallels with Neptune. This indicates that she is actually rather poetic, or she can easily come up with stories or basically build a lore for herself. Mars contra parallel with Saturn. This indicates that she is a person of action. Of course, these actions can take a turbulent like state where she may in fact, if she acts, she can easily break upon it, but also of course this indicates that the body is rather disciplined in a sense, so she may easily contain her own actions and take accountability for those actions. Jupiter, as I mentioned, parallel Neptune, Jupiter parallels. That's okay. Saturn contra parallels and parallel with North and South Node. This indicates that in the past, experiences was very much hardship and lessons to learn. But of course, those hardships and lessons and tests past will very much benefit her in the long term, especially when in her future. Pluto parallels with Eris. This indicates that she is very much confident in the ability to make something new. In this case, being a VTuber is rather relatively new, in a sense. Also, she'll be making rather a confident like amounts of money through a business-like structure, or one who can easily guide and build businesses through this new trends or use of VTubing. Or she may be one to actually push the boundaries of what VTubing is. Eris parallels with Lilith. This will indicate that she is a what is new or what can be a good financial trend for her is basically the use of demonic like activities or negative actions. So in other words, when she wants to basically play around and quote unquote be a demon, it's usually as something new or entertaining purposes. Pallas contra parallel with Juno. This will indicate that technology wise or content wise she knows how to build a fantasy or illusions. This also can indicate that she could, in theory, sell technology online, or not technology, but more like a fashion online, my bad. Or she may be able to sell makeup, spells and hexes in a sense, or content that surrounds basically spells, or basically a rock star like lifestyle, or something that is of glamour content wise. Now here are the Magi Astrology resources. Keep in mind that all these books, these three right here, are out of print and also rather rare. Copies of them that do exist will most likely sell for a couple $100s. But I did provide this book right here, Astrology Really Works, and of course Magi Astrology, The Key Success in Love and Money, in the description below. These particular links are actually ebooks that were provided by the Magi Society themselves. Magi Astrology Really Works is a cover-to-cover copy, while Magi Astrology Key Success and all, that is a 2 mini ebooks that was provided. These are websites right here that will teach you more about Magi Astrology and scientific-based astrology. Right here are other astrology resources. All the books right here that are in bold are currently still in print, and you can buy yourself a copy. The ones that are not in bold are ones that are rather rare or out of print or both. And again, like, they can also sell it for a couple $100s. Now these are other resources that are not astrology at all. However, they are used, or at least useful, if you're interested in learning more about scientific-based astrology. And of course, they are also my personal favorites, so I strongly recommend you to at least give them a read. And thank you for watching. Please visit me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Discord, and I hope to see all of you rather soon. Bye!